to Get With The Programming. I'm Chase Ingram.
I'm Captain America.
And along with me is Bill Grundler.
Wolverine.
And Bill, we are not alone.
I know.
A very special guest from the Great White North. I would like to introduce Michele Letendre.
And what it all comes down is that everything's gonna be fine, fine, fine.
Oh man,
It's going to be fine, everybody.
everything will be okay. You know what? Honestly, I thought you were gonna play Celine Dion.
So that I looked through it and I was like, I can't really find anything that really fits the vibe. But I was like, you know what? We got Michele on. We got some Alanis vibes, right?
Yes.
It's like, I don't take shit from anybody, and we're going to talk about some programming.
So, full disclosure, I went to see her on her most recent tour, like this year, last year, or something.
Hey, how was it?
It was fantastic.
Okay, I want to go. If she comes to Dallas, I'm going.
Oh man,
Of course you are.
What was sad is that I was sitting there listening to this music, reminiscing about my past, and then some kids walk in and they see her most famous song, "Ironic," and then they walk out, and I was like, "What?"
They just
God,
don't know.
yeah, way more.
Oh, so much. But yeah, oh, that's great. I love that. I was seriously expecting Celine Dion's like, I don't know.
Yeah, like Your Heart Will Go On. Like there were, I would be embarrassed to say how much time I spent to find a 7-second video or audio clip for you, but I landed on this one. I thought it landed very well. So
Yeah, I agree.
Michele, welcome to Get With The Programming.
Thank you so much, guys, for having me. It's such a pleasure.
Dude, so pumped to have you on. We're here to talk about your guest programming, 2 weeks of .com.
Yes.
Fantastic. Congratulations. What an honor.
It was great. I really enjoyed it. Yeah.
Now, did they come to you? You go to them, you're like, hey guys, listen, give me a slot.
A little bit of both. I knew that, I kind of heard that was in the works. And when I saw that they started announcing the guest programmer and the first being Dave, I immediately sent out an email and just asked them if they would have me on there, because I would love the opportunity. I think it's a wonderful opportunity, and it's so cool that they opened it up, because like many people, I started doing CrossFit doing the .com. Like I was in the
that was going to
gym.
be my question, is just your .com overall experience. So that's really where you got started?
Well, I got hired at a gym, and the gym that I was doing at, and by the way, I was hired as a front desk.
Nice.
Perfect placement. Perfect placement.
So basically, when I graduated university, I wanted to kind of have a job that would give me a free membership. So I applied to a bunch of different gyms, and the CrossFit Montreal hired me to be a front desk. And so they said that I had to do it. Long story short, in their programming, they had 3 options, and they used to do the .com as one of the options. And so that's how I found out about the .com. That's how I found out about the resources that was the .com. And like, no joke, I was obsessed with it. I went through the entire website, looking at all the videos that you can imagine, all the movements, like all of that stuff. So I was on that website all the time. So when they came back to me and told me that like they'd like to have me, I was like, I was a little bit teary, because I was like, man, this is so great. Like my career is where it is today because of CrossFit. And so I was really happy to.
You're talking to 2 people that can say the same exact thing.
Yeah.
Hey, Michele, when was that? What year? About?
Man, I started CrossFit in 2009.
Okay.
End of 2009, December of 2009.
Nice.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, we've spent hours and hours, obviously hours and hours and hours on the old .com when we started, and then even bringing it back. But what did you like about the .com?
First of all, I liked that it was seemingly random. And back then, I mean, we can all agree that back then it was really kind of random. And so
it jumps down my throat.
Just so you guys know, there wasn't that much thought to it. What I liked about it the most was it was kind of can I do this? Like, am I able to do this workout? And am I going to scale? This kind of test, like daily test of what I was able to do, and how I was going to be able to do it. And I did a lot of sports in my life, and one of the things I would always do is visualization. And when I played water polo, this is something that I did almost every night. I would visualize a match being played from A to Z.
Nice.
So when I would look at the CrossFit workouts, I would kind of play the same kind of thing in my head. When I would go to bed, I would think about the workout, how I would be doing it, if I could do it. And I had this like unrealistic idea in my head that I could do everything. And then I would get humbled, and that's what really got to me. It was just like, it's the variety of it. It's the feeling of doing sport rather than working out. Like I don't like working out. I don't like being in the gym and training that much. I really like doing sports, and I'm an activity person. I really like that. So it just brought me back to playing water polo and not knowing what we were going to do at practice, and where we're going to do drills, where we're going to scrimmage and kind of thing,
Take that.
Yeah.
Michelle, it's funny you mentioned that. Is that I love playing sports. It's one of my favorite things to do, or just games. Anything competitive. It's like, hey, we used to do this in college. It's like, I'm bored. Let's play a game. There's a bottle cap and a trash can. Who wants to play the game? Who can make it the furthest away in 3 shots or something like that? But my wife is the same way. It's like, she hates working out, but she'll play rec sports or like all day long. And that's really what she used to do for fitness in like college and post-college. And it's funny that you mentioned .com. And Bill, I would love your first thoughts of .com. My experience, completely the opposite. When I first went on CrossFit.com, I think I met a buddy on a Saturday, and he's like, he looked different than when we were in college. We're about 2 years removed. And I was like, you look way different. Like you didn't look like this in college, and now you're ripped. And at the time, I was looking to look like that. And I was like, what have you been doing? I was like, I've been doing CrossFit. It's like, cool. He's like, come with me on Monday. I was like, sold. So that was an easy sell for him. But then I was like, okay, I'll look up what this CrossFit thing is. And I just went on .com. I'm like, what the hell is this? Like 5x3 deadlift. That's CrossFit. That's the workout for the day. And I swam in college, and we did weight training 3 times a week and dryland training another 3 times, and spent about 4 hours in the water 6 days a week. I was like, yeah, this is all CrossFit. Like, this is it. And then I got humbled on that next Monday, very abruptly, as most would have, coming into an inflated ego that myself had going.
What was your first workout? Do you remember?
Fran.
Man, what?
Yeah.
What? So I was at an affiliate summit like last weekend, and I asked the people I was talking to, I'm like, what was your first workout? And legit, they've all been doing CrossFit for 10 plus years. And they're like, yeah, my first workout was Barbara. My first workout was Fran. My first workout was, and they're all benchmarks. And I was like, holy crap. Like, man, if my first workout would have been something like that, I don't know if I would have come.
Well, here's the thing. It whooped my butt so bad. I didn't come back to the gym for 2 months, and I went to a Globo gym, and I had to get in shape for CrossFit. So that joke we talk in, like, as affiliate owners, is like, oh, do you need to be fit to do CrossFit? Well, the answer is obviously no, but it was like, oh, I'm not ready for this. I was that guy. Yeah. Like, I was so demoralized. Like, I need to get in shape for this stuff.
Man, that I wish I would have got Fran or Barbara or something like that. Well, see, because mine was the 2002, so mine was way back in the day. Oh. So mine was like I think the first 2 I did were, how many unbroken sets of 5 push-ups can you do in 15 minutes? And the next one was, how many sets of 3 unbroken pull-ups can you do in 15 minutes?
Oh my goodness. Did your arms fall off?
Yeah, and dude, it was, I mean, I loved it, but like what I liked about it, in for those that haven't seen, I think if you go like in the, what's it called, the Wayback website, whatever, it'll find, like, pull up like the old websites. You can see what the old .com looked like. And what I liked was, it seemed like this totally underground. Like, I love the fact that it, like, no one really knew what the heck it was. There were these random people from like all over the place that were like tuning in and posting whatever they got. I'm like, who the fuck is this Chris Spieler guy? Fuck that. Who's this Pat Barber guy?
This guy's a liar. Nobody can do 23 rounds of Cindy. It's impossible.
Yeah, it's like he would put these numbers up, and I'm like, but the guy's like 5'3". How's he doing that? There's no way, But that was mine. Like, I loved that, and it was always what was funny was I was doing that and lifting, regular lifting.
Mm.
Like I would do chest and tries on Monday, and then I would go and do a CrossFit workout.
Yeah.
I still I wanted to look good. I didn't understand that would make me look good. I just had a buddy, the guy that told me about it, Nick Massman. He worked out in Glassman's gym, so he was the one that's like, "Hey, I know you like crazy workouts. Check out this website. They put them up online now." I'm like, "Oh,
Is
okay."
that Mark? Matt? Who was that?
It was Nick Massman.
Nick. Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, he was one of like the original guys there, and he actually did like the designing, like when they put out the how to design your own garage gym. He was one that had a lot of the pictures and a lot of the designs and how to fabricate the stuff. So yeah, mine was the underground, go get your ass kicked all by yourself fight club kind of scene that I liked. I just thought it was cool. So and it was the same thing, Michelle, like, can I do this?
Yeah.
Fuck those guys on the comment board. I'm gonna beat all of them somehow. Fuck that Miko guy.
Red
Who's
dot
that?
would come up. I would look every day. Once I got into it, I would go every day and see if like a new comment was, and they would have a little red dot by the new comments.
Yeah.
I would do that on daily. All right. So Michelle, with your I guess a background and relationship with old.com, how much did you look at that and how the workouts were programmed on a daily basis, or how they programmed and what they did? Did you take into these 2 weeks of programming that you were going to bring to the table?
Yeah. When they asked me to do it, like, the way Deka Comp or the way I programming for our affiliates, for, our athletes, whatever, is totally different. And it represents just a different time.
Okay.
So I didn't want to kind of uproot the whole classic one workout a day. Like, I had looked at all the previous guest programmers and see what they did. And there's a lot of beauty and simplicity. And so we went into this 2 weeks kind of with the idea of respecting that one workout. I wanted to be different enough that it didn't feel like, anyone was writing it, but I took into consideration like a bunch of things, the classic aspect of CrossFit, the idea of how CrossFit today looks a little bit different with the point of view of a more performance-based, programmer versus like a daily fitness health programmer. And I wanted to make a 2 weeks that was balanced when you looked at the 2 weeks, right? Like, it's easy to over program because you want to get everything in one single session.
Right.
But the reality is that the whole idea of CrossFit is that it's not that one session that will get you fitter. It's going to be a combination of all of them. So I kind of wanted to stay balanced in that form and stay true to the CrossFit side of that. But we put in a lot of our new touches. Like, one of my favorite workouts of the 2 weeks was the 2159 3 times. So we did an ENOM, but it's every 6 minutes, 2159 bike calories with goblet squats. Have you guys done that workout?
I have not done that one, but I was like, I don't hate my legs or myself to jump into that right away.
So that to me is where CrossFit is in terms of high performance. Like, I'm not saying that everyone can do this workout as it's written with the implements and things like that. Like, if I were to give this workout to my class, it would look different. But like the higher performers, the athletes that are really good, and have been doing it for 16 plus years and know that they can hit that pain 3 times versus just once. I think that that's where CrossFit is today.
Okay.
So I kind of wanted to play around with that idea of threshold training, but in a more modern way for most people who have been doing CrossFit for, that many years. So the goal was to be balanced. The goal was to show our flair. I also wanted to get my team involved in it because, when I got the opportunity, like Deka Comp or me, I'm not alone in what we do. I have some really great coaches that work with me, and I wanted them to be involved. So I asked them to kind of come up with some workouts, and I chose some of their workouts that fit into the balance that I wanted to achieve over the 2 weeks.
Okay.
And so to me, it represented 2 weeks that was reflective of us as a group. But also knowing very well that like one person programming always has repetitiveness, redundantness, and things like that. So I wanted to for them to share in that opportunity, but also to get their idea of their specific goals in the workout and how that works, because every single workout of those 2 weeks have different goals, right? Like you can look at it as it's a GPP goal, like all of them will hit that mark, but they all have different aspects. One of them is aerobic, one of them is shoulder endurance, one of them is core endurance, the other one is threshold training. Like they all have different goals. So I just, just wrote those 2 weeks with workouts that comes into line. I wanted them to be fun, and I wanted people to enjoy doing the workouts. And even if they didn't enjoy doing the workouts, that they would ask themselves, why am I doing this workout? What's the goal? And how is this going to get me better?
When you did that, I know that one of the comments that came out was, with the guest programmer being Michele, why isn't Michele writing the workouts? I think that what you said and how you brought that in was a really good and a fair statement. What guidance did you give your coaches as they were doing that? Did you kind of set up here's the plan that I want? Or did you just go, come up with something, and then did you try to fit them in afterwards? How much guidance did you give as they were programming for your spot?
It was the second option. I asked them to just be creative and to have fun, but whatever they wrote, that they would give me an idea of why they wrote it and what the goals are. And so if those fit in line in that balance, then I would pick one of them. So they all wrote like 2, 3, some of them wrote 4 or 5 pieces.
Oh, okay.
And so beside those pieces, they wrote the goals. And then together, we kind of made the week balance out with those goals. So we chose the workouts to go in the right place, in the right order, based on what they did previously and things like that.
Yeah, I think what I really liked that you had on there was comments basically that a coach would be saying if they were in a class, like you should be shooting for this amount of reps. You should be able to hit this many times. You should be able to have, here's the why we're doing this. Here's the how it should be done. I'd like that you added that in there, whether that, again, whether that was, and I like the fact that you had them, that they had a handful of workouts and then you picked them. You were able to put them in there or make sure that you knew what was going on so that it could be.
Yeah.
I mean, we as CrossFit fans want to hear from you. I mean, it's great that you have the team, and I mean, I think that's awesome. But it's nice to know that you were leading that as well. For you, for your team, that's great. We want to know that was you too.
Yeah, I edited the workouts. So they gave me some workouts, and I think there are about 4 workouts out of the 2 weeks that were from them. Okay. And they gave me their workouts, and I edited them so that it fits nicely, right? So like the first workout was a barbell cycling workout that included jerks in the workout. And I just couldn't have jerks because I think 2 days before with the previous programming, there were like tons of shoulder to overheads. So I kind of took out those jerks. So it was edited in a way that just made sense. So these, I think one of the things that I also wanted to talk about and show with this, I can't think straight when I see that picture of myself. It's so
so awesome.
You're like, is that in the same?
So anyways,
that is a very aggressive picture they put up there.
They did. Yeah, it's a pretty gnarly one. Don't look like that anymore. But all of these, like Michele Letendre, like I have my style, I do my programming and I work with my athletes and this and that. But these programming companies, they're not alone. They're not the only ones writing the programming. Rich Froning isn't writing all the programming for Mayhem and vice versa. So I think it's really important to shout out to the people who work under all those big names, because it is, we're in a field, in a world, in an environment that big names like steal the show. But I mean, it's just like athletes out there on the floor, like they're not alone. They have tons of people working for them so that they can get that kind of success. So I just wanted to get my team out there knowing that, like, yes, I curated the workouts. I asked them to be creative, and I had those pieces fit into the 2 weeks. And so we were working together, but all of those workouts were put in because I felt like they were the right workout for the right time. And I know that some of them caused huge controversy.
Oh, we're going to go through every single one.
It's so fun. Come on.
Don't worry, we'll get there.
But, the beauty about this programming style, this CrossFit programming style, the hopper model and all that stuff, is that you get just, you get to do different things and you learn from them, whether they're good or they're bad, you know, but there's always a reason behind it. And to take anything out of context is just like, it's unreasonable. So the context of each piece is over the 2 weeks. We have to kind of look at the 2 weeks as a whole.
Okay.
And so, yeah.
Well, hey, that's why we have you here.
Perfect.
We're going to go workout to workout, which I can't dive into, but I really like that explanation because on a personal level, like when Dave came on board and they're just Dave's workouts, I was like, that's exciting to me and all the other programs that we've had so far. And for you, I was in the same boat. It's like, I would love to see what Michele has to offer for me. But I do like that you took the culture of what Deka Comp is and how you guys operate and brought that to how you assemble the programming. But still, at the end of the day, you put this together in a format that you wanted, you curated, edited, as you said before. So like, even if like this wasn't designed by you specifically, it was still finalized, edited, and curated by you. So,
and I wrote like more than half of the workout. So if anyone is worried about me just putting on the work to my people, and like I was more involved in this than they were. So I like that 2159 is something that I wrote. The endurance one is a workout that I loved, that I edited. Like, you know, I had my hands in all of the workouts.
how many, so we'll go workout to workout here, but how many times, because I do this all the time, whether it's for a weekly programming for the affiliate or a competition that I'm doing. I've even pretended like I would get asked to do this one day. So I've been writing things, and every week I go back and I probably erase half of them or change all of them on a week-to-week basis. How often did you do that leading up to it? And maybe during, you're like, oh, I would have now seeing it a week later, I would have done it differently. Did you have to wrestle with that the whole time?
You know, I think so I'm an artist. I studied in arts, and one of the really important concepts when we study in art or design is the art of simplification. And it basically, every time I went back to the workout, it was the questions I'm asking myself is always, is this the simplest way that I can achieve the goal that I want to achieve? So it always ends up like, you always end up having to go back and edit. Most of the time you'll edit out, or you'll try and make things really simple. But there's also this other concept that like done is better than perfect. And I'm very well aware that nothing I'll put out in the world, whether it comes to programming, will be perfect. And my career has been built on me and Patrick, for example, working together and him giving me constant feedback on the training that I'm giving him. But I'm also really not afraid to make those kinds of mistakes. Like, like programming, you can make mistakes. And I just feel like if there's a workout in there that I looked at and I was like, I don't know. I'm not too concerned by it. It's never going to be perfect. And like, you know, you'll look at a workout and you'll complain, this is the stupidest shit ever. Like, how could this happen? Well, the reality is like, you know, it happened, and, you know, I learned from it and whatever. Or it's like, I stand by my gun, and you don't have to like it if you want. So there's those workouts aren't me. They're not personal. It's like a training that I think has a specific goal. So yeah, I didn't get that much time, by the way, from when they asked me to submit all the workouts and the time that they asked me to do the programming. I think I had something like 2 or 3 weeks. I didn't have that many.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I didn't have that much time.
Yeah.
So that's great because it allows me to really work on a time crunch, which I think most of us do very well. If you're minorly competitive or like performance oriented, you're like, well, I have to do it. Like,
I say that's why I procrastinate, is just so I can perform better. And
great justification. I use that one all the time too.
There's science behind that, but like, so there was a sense of, we need to make sure that we just have 2 weeks that look balanced. And that's also why I called on to my team, because it's like, man, if I were to be alone in this, I think I would ask myself a lot of questions and I would be really phased out. So having them involved in the process deloaded a lot of work and helped me make decisions on a little bit quicker that were like, oh yeah, this is great. Like, this is exactly, it fits right in there. You know, I know the goal, like, perfect. So I could have gone back many, many times, but the time crunch stopped me from doing that. And I think I'd have to say I must have looked over the 2 weeks probably, 10, 12 times or so in different ways. But at one point, you're going to hurt yourself. Like, you have to know when to stop. And
Oh,
that's another thing
Right.
that in art you learn very much. Like, you have to know when to stop, because if you're confused and you keep adding, it's just going to be a whole mess.
Well, so then, okay. How you said that you looked over it that many times, and this is just.com. There'll be a lot of different eyes on this.
Yeah.
How many times do you look at your Deka programming, or when you're programming for the second fittest in the world, trying to get him to the top here? How many times do you look at his programming versus this one before we get into all your programming?
Yeah. So Patrick's programming is actually way easier.
That's what I wanted to hear.
I mean, he has very specific weaknesses and very specific strengths. So there's a sense of not having to overdo things. And there's less balance in his programming. Whereas the CrossFit.com, or for example, our affiliate programming, balance is a really important element and value that we have.
Yeah.
And so because there's that balance involved in the affiliate, I'll take the affiliate programming as an example. My eyes are on the affiliate programming from the start of the work until the send out every week. And so every day I have a look, and luckily for me, I'm at a point where I've delegated someone that is taking really good care of that, but my eyes are still on it every single day, making sure that the balance is there. And so it's really an art. You have to see, oh, did we do this last week? Is this movement pattern conflicting with this movement pattern? And there's so much to kind of think about. Whereas Patrick's programming, I go over most of all his comments to kind of adjust for the next week. But I don't kind of, there are very specific goals with his training. Like, we have these general goals that we'll do to kind of create his block and his macro cycle and everything. But like on a day-to-day basis, my goals for Pat are more on time domains, weaknesses, and power endurance and technical endurance. And those, I'm not too concerned with movements, so to speak.
Yeah.
So the demands of that type of programming to me are just simpler to make decisions for than for affiliate or CrossFit.
Well, you have someone that like end-to-end, ability to inability to, and like that actually, as you said, is really easy to do. But with .com, you have this mythical, we always say there's
to the abyss
CrossFitter. Yeah. You just into the nothingness of that. And you nailed it, because Bill and I talk about this all the time, is like, I have programmed so many shitty workouts over the last 15 years, but it doesn't matter, because I just have this endless horizon of whoops. And then you just go to the next one. Right. And where I see the stress level could be is that 2 weeks of just a microsecond of what programming really is like, I do feel like there is a massive element of extra pressure there, because whether you put it on yourself, well, we always put it on ourselves, but you're totally nailed it, because there's no pressure when you program for your affiliate. I've been coaching the Monday morning 5 a.m. class and go, hey guys, I know I said 5 rounds, but clearly it should be 3.
Yeah.
My bad. And then the 6 a.m. gets a better class than I feel.
And I'm like, if you don't like in design and in art, you're told, like, if you're not pushing and playing and testing things and trying things out, like, you're never gonna discover anything. And so I think that that's a really important thing we need to think about when we do programming, is that yes, there needs to be a security element. There needs to be parameters that help us provide training that is secure and this and that. But, if something is off balance, like, really, it's not a big deal. And I'm fully aware that these 2 weeks, although I wanted them to demonstrate and show people my style and how I see the CrossFit.com, but it's like I can't in 2 weeks. I just can't.
Right.
There's just not enough. There would have to be 4 hours of training and this and that, but there just isn't. And so, one of the things that I value is keeping things simple. And I think that, despite some people not liking some workouts, I think our workouts were simple. I think my workouts represent a true version of CrossFit, or how I see CrossFit. And like when I looked at the end of the week, I was really satisfied. At the end of the 2 weeks, like before I sent out to the CrossFit staff, I was really happy with what was written on the paper.
Well, I know we keep saying we're going to get to your workouts, but this is the last one. Bill and I love the artist equivalent that you're making right now, because, and Bill especially has always talked about this, is that we truly believe that programming is an art. And that you always see the artist within the art. Their DNA is threaded through that.
Yeah.
And the same way we try to be as objective as possible when we look at programming, there will be always that subjectivity, just like you see in art itself, right?
Yeah.
Just take the Mona Lisa. As revered as it is, there are plenty of people that are like, this is a stupid painting of a chick. Like, and
you have to know why it's popular.
Exactly, right? And so programming is the same thing. There's a lot of the eye of the beholder when it comes to just people's opinions and preference of that. But the main goal at the end of the day is like, hey, if we look at the nuts and bolts and really what this is founded on, like as long as we had a good grassrooted foundation of what a workout was and how it looked like over 2 weeks, then mission accomplished.
Mm-hmm.
So likes and dislikes, whatever. All right, so let's go through this. This was Monday, 2 weeks ago, and we had the 7 rounds for time, 7 deadlifts, 7 hang power cleans, 7 front squats at 155 and 105, which is DT weight.
DT style, yeah.
DT style. I look at this as DT meets Macho Man a little bit. Some of that.
Oh my goodness, I forgot about that workout.
All right. And then this, as you said at the bottom, is it Jan Kozak? Am I saying that correctly? Okay.
Jan Kozak, or Jan, sorry.
Oh, Jan.
Yeah.
That's. I'll don't worry, Bill. I'll butcher the names going forward.
Yeah. Jan's a big barbell cycling guy, and I like barbell cycling, but I'm less interested in it. I think it's an important part of our process, and I think that everyone likes a good barbell cycling workout. So the front squats instead of the jerks, I think, creates a more sense of urgency. And I think most people look at DT. Obviously, the rep scheme is different. But because the rep scheme is lower and the front squats avoid some shoulder to overhead limitation, I think this workout really challenges the posterior chain in a very different, unique way. So there's an element of burn that comes with this workout. So you can look at this workout and say, I can do this unbroken for sure. And so we all know what that means, right? Fran,
yes.
Jackie, all that stuff. So, and the fact that there's a rest in between there,
that's it right there.
Yeah,
that's the part that I was like, oh shit.
Yeah.
What a dick.
This is why the workouts like this are super beneficial for the general population, but for athletes specifically, having that rest. If I were to write this workout for a competitive athlete like Pat, I would have it slightly heavier, but the goal would really be just, the 21 reps unbroken. And that would really challenge the athletes, and hopefully the load, not the load, but the rest is enough to get them recovering. And then if you have an even more advanced athletes, like at games level, you would have them do an active recovery to kind of challenge that barbell cycling endurance.
Okay.
So like this workout has a lot of benefit, and it's so simple. Like I think we've all programmed a workout like this. When this workout came up, it was like, it's not different. It's not special in and of itself like that, but it's very achievable, and it's just that little bit heavier than we want. Plus there's the rest.
Yeah. I like it. The simplicity of it. I look at that. I'm like, oh damn, this is just conditioning with a barbell.
Yeah.
But you talked about DT and switching out, say maybe the shoulder overhead component for front squats. I was like, man, this makes it so much worse for someone like me, because in DT, I'm like, let's just get to the shoulder overhead and then the coast is clear. But when you make it front squats, I'm like, son of a bitch.
Yeah.
I got to get to the front squats and then it all starts.
And
well, it's like the weight is on you the whole time. At least when you're doing that shoulder overhead, there's that moment where it's kind of leaving your body, even though you're kind of holding it up there. But when it's sitting right on your chest the whole time, And you
Yeah.
know that that's the part, because you brought the reps down on the deadlift and the hang power cleans, it really is the front squat. So you have to hold on to that, and you're going to want to hold on to that to get it all unbroken.
Mhm.
And then that 1 minute rest every single time. That's what I love about intervals type work, is whenever you have rest, yeah, your heart rate's coming down, but it allows you to feel everything that you just did. And you're having to assess every single time whether you want to or not. Then it makes it really bad, especially when you get like, like past round 4 and 5. I
Yeah.
like this one. I like it.
I mean, there's so much to this workout. Like if you want to have success in this workout, we think, like when we see that rest, we kind of have this idea that we have to go really fast, right? 7 deadlifts really fast, 7 hang power cleans really fast, 7 front squats really fast, and then we get to rest. But that spike is actually probably detrimental. So there's a sense of controlling your speed of execution to really be successful in this workout. This workout can be a lot easier than we think it can be if we just breathe and work our way through this movement. And we tend to think barbell cycling, we have to go fast to reduce our time under tension.
Yeah.
But increasing the time under tension actually helps us increase our endurance for workouts. Let's say you're in a competition and you have this to get through, and you've trained both fast and slow, then you know that if you're doing this, you can slow yourself down at the beginning and then speed up at the end, et cetera. So there's a speed of execution element to this workout that I really like.
Yeah.
In addition, if you look at the movement pattern, these front squats are way harder because the hamstrings are just being pummeled nonstop. Everything you need to have fast front squats are just being pre-fatigued. So there's like, you don't get that with DT. You don't get that because, like you said, Chase, like you get to the shoulder to overhead and it's almost rest. I remember double DT at the games in 2016.
Yeah.
And it was just like, okay, the mentally when I was going through that workout was just get to the shoulder to overheads.
Totally.
Yeah.
Like just get there. That was like my récompense, like my treat, like in the workout. That was the one thing I was looking forward to, is to just shoulder up to overhead. And it was kind of the same thing with the heavy DT that we did previous year, where it's like the deadlifts are kind of strenuous, the hang power cleans were really hard, and then the shoulder to overheads were kind of like not the same, but still kind of less strenuous, So great combination of movements here. I think Jan really hit the mark on the combination. Taking out the shoulder to overhead, I think, made this workout harder.
Oh, yeah. All I read is front squat. So this was
totally.
Yeah. This was a great way to kick things off. And then you jump to day 2, and as many rounds as possible in 20 minutes, 20 single under crossovers.
Yeah.
10 burpee pull-ups, and then 12 GHD sit-ups.
Yeah.
So we go from just barbell cycling, some work capacity, like you said, is a somewhat of an endurance threshold training. And then I love what you have here in some of these goals too, to help people understand, is like we're working on conditioning and that pulling endurance. I like those little additions that you added to your programming.
Yeah. Thank you. I think that helps people appreciate training, whether they like it or not. And I think it also, when I was an athlete and when I was being coached, it was super important for me to understand why I was doing things. Because I didn't especially I started later, I started competing when I was 24, 25, and I finished when I was 30 or 31. And so when you get older, you kind of want to, you don't have that much full on energy to give anymore. You can't just, have the mind of a champion and say, well, I'm going to give everything I can and it will come back to me because hard work pays off and all that stuff. Not to say that that's not good, but there needs to be some form of intellectual understanding of what you're doing if you're going to keep pummeling yourself year after year. And so when we write coaches notes, and when I write coaches notes, the why this workout exists is crucial in helping athletes do the workout carefully, because workouts are not just I don't consider workouts to be just, yes, you want to go in and just have fun, which is gen pop stuff. But if I'm talking to an athlete, workouts are how you're going to improve and what you need to work on. So if you don't have that why, you'll miss the mark. And it'll also give you something to think about when you're doing something that you don't like, right? In this workout, I tried this workout And to be honest, I've never done single crossover before. So I was like, ooh.
It can get frustrating. It's like
I
loading the
don't
airplane all
know
over
how
again.
that's gonna go, but like, you know, I'm at a point now. It's like I don't want to be learning new things. Like I kind of want to just work out whatever. But doing this has forced me to think about how thinking about how to do the crossover singles, because I've watched so many people do it, and
Right.
I've coached so many to do it based on what I've identified as like winning movement patterns for that movement. And I was putting this into practice in the workout. So when I did this workout, my goal was to understand what I was doing in the single under crossovers. And when I missed, what did I do? And so that why made this workout for me way more enjoyable. And I was way more focused and in the moment. So I think giving those whys and the reasoning behind the workouts is good for the athlete, but it's also incredibly important for coaching because it allows people to understand why they're scaling and how to scale. And it gives people creative ideas on how to scale.
Yeah. And I think that why for the athlete, especially that intellectual part, I think that just because an athlete is a good athlete, they have all the capacity, they have the strength, they have the ability, they may not have the body awareness of understanding what they should be feeling at this particular point in this particular workout. So training is that learning session. So you're giving them the objectives of what they're trying to learn that day, which I think is huge. In this workout, I think it's great because the younger CrossFit or the Gen Pop could have fun at all these things. This is like recess. You know, it's fun. The competitive athlete is going to be like, okay, where can I get these things? This is conditioning. I understand that. Okay, pulling endurance. Okay, I can see where that's happening. I can see where I'm supposed to be nailing my marks here. So I think it's a fun one. I think it's pretty cool.
Okay. I want to address a question I've been getting a lot about this workout.
Okay, you might be about to answer the question I'm going to ask you.
Yeah. So someone's saying, why the 12 GHD?
That's my question.
I don't know why this is such a problem.
I'll tell you why mine, because I have OCD.
Okay.
And I am stuck in the rut of numbers. And so, yes.
First of all, okay, look at this workout. And what are the numbers that are in the workout?
Yes.
2012.
Okay.
You have three numbers, 3 movements. It's like a pattern. Okay. Number one. But the real reason is that when we counted roughly how many rounds were going to happen, when we had an idea of how many rounds people were going to hit, I felt like 15 GHD sit-ups per round would slow people down. And I felt that in the long run, it was just a little bit too much volume that I was comfortable giving for this movement. I'm not a huge fan of GHD sit-ups. Personally, when I was an athlete, I couldn't really do them RX unless I was in competition. It just caused me a lot of trouble. Pat is the same way. So I if you ask me, I would have given a different movement.
Okay.
But it's just to me was the right amount per round. And if athletes were going to do like a lot of rounds, the total volume of it was something that I considered reasonable. And if athletes were going to get less round, to me was like just a safer, less. I felt like those 3 less reps were going to help people be more consistent and just not overdo the volume. Because we were considering doing less GHD, and then I was like, it's going to be way too many rounds. And we were considering doing more GHD and just doing an X amount of chunk, like of GHD sit-ups, really targets people and slows them down. So for me, 12 is a nice number that people can go and smoothly through the movement, and not like explode themselves. Because like I said, I'm not a fan of that movement.
You just took a different angle of the artistry there. You were looking at that particular movement. We were looking at the numbers where it's like, why didn't you just make it 10? Or make it 22, 12, and 12.
Dude, it's whatever number it is.
Happy. Right. Well, I think it's great. I think it's great that you're like, okay, you're seeing where the hitch of that, what's the point of that workout. And it's going to be that GHC that's either going to make it too many or too less. I mean, burpee pull-ups are burpee pull-ups. Okay. Yeah. Crossovers, okay, unless you get hung up on the crossovers, they are what they are. But that's the working piece. So you're like, okay, I want about this many reps total. Here's the number I need to make that.
Yeah.
So screw your repetitions of 2s and 1s and 0s and whatever.
Yeah, it's like, oh, why'd you put that streak of yellow in there? Damn it.
Right.
All right, so we go from like you said, the pulling endurance one, and this one, it has upper body pressing strength endurance, and posterior chain endurance was part of your reasoning of this one. It's 5 rounds for time, 4 strict deficit handstand push-ups at 4 and 6 inches, 8 kipping deficit handstand push-ups, and then 16 dumbbell box step overs at 1535 and a 24 and 20 inch box.
Yeah.
And this just like, all right, we did a interval base, and then we went AMRAP, and now we're coming to a for time.
Yeah.
All right.
Simple.
All right. Where do you sit on, okay, it's like, hey, I want deficit in there at this height. Where do you land on that?
Yeah. So this is a workout that we wanted to challenge the best ones out there because it is an easy movement to scale. So we wanted to get people working on that deficit strict handstand push-ups. We've seen like wall facing a ton, but I think that the strict deficit handstand push-up has got a lot more posterior chain involved in it. I like the position of it, especially if you're using parallettes. I like the tripod position of it and the classic pressing movement. But like I said, we wanted with this one to challenge the best athletes out there, but keep it simple enough that you can very easily modify this to a vertical press with an external load, right? Because the workout isn't handstand push-up. The workout is strict press into dynamic press into isometric hold. That's what the workout is. And that was the idea. And so this looks like a triplet, but it's I consider this more of a couplet.
Yeah.
And it's actually not too complicated. I just saw a question pop up, posterior chain for the glutes, but no, posterior chain, yes, for the legs on the step ups, but also for the upper back.
I was gonna say the back of my shoulders that would get smoked that I need to be for my handstand or to at least be inverted for that pressing movement.
Yeah. And so the goal wasn't necessarily to stop people in their track with the deficit handstand push-up. The goal was really to have them working. This is a workout that looks like I took it out of Pat's training and put it into like this on the CrossFit.com. That's how I work pressing endurance. And it could also be any type of press. It could be, push up into plyo push up, or it could be like a front squat into thruster, for example. It's just a different way of working that endurance, but specifically for the handstand push up or the lockout, that was the idea behind it.
I mean, I say if you pulled it right out of the playbook, I was like, yep, upper body pressing strength endurance sounds like something that Pat should continue to work on.
Yeah, he's done this.
So, and I like the switching of the styles and the formats, and like we said, is like going from that interval base to a AMRAP and then to a for time, and then we come to rest day, and this is where we'll say it's like when Ben Smith programmed was really the first time there was an A-B option, the B option being an actual workout. What you brought to this was active recovery in a sense, and you also used swimming. And so for those that don't understand the difference between active recovery and an alternate workout, will you explain that to people a little bit and why you specifically chose swimming for this active recovery option?
So I'll start with the first question. The difference between active recovery and a workout is you can be as simple as having a heart rate that's below 150 or whatever your heart rate zones are for your specific heart rate threshold. But like anything that's above your green zone or zone 3 is considered a workout. So if you're finding your heart rate jumping up and you're breathing hard, that's not active recovery. And it all depends also on the context. If you're peaking towards your competition, you can afford to have slightly higher heart rates because your recovery rate will probably be a little bit better. But even then, it depends, you know? So I chose swimming because for the last 2-3 years, I've been doing and dabbling in triathlon, and swimming is my background. I learned swimming very young. And so for me, swimming was like second nature. So, you know, with the CrossFit Games having so much swimming involved, and now every competition having so much swimming, I was like, man, it's the one thing that I should be able to coach, but I don't know how to coach because I learned it so young. And so being with this triathlon club that I'm with right now, we swim twice a week, and I've learned so much about swimming techniques and swimming threshold training and how to swim for endurance events versus sprinting, right? When I was a swimmer / water polo player, because water polo is my actual sport, but I was swimming like 110, 100 meters, you know, like I was sprinting the shit out of that stuff. I never really learned how to swim long distance. I never really learned how to use stroke rate. I never really learned how to use pacing and stuff like that. So I wanted to kind of put that in there because it's something that I'm more comfortable with today. That said, I think in my notes, I wrote like, you have to have a certain amount of rest. And so there's a risk to doing swimming for a lot of CrossFit athletes because a lot of CrossFit athletes don't know how to swim.
Right. Nothing recovery about not knowing how to swim. And
that's the thing.
In the pool.
Like swimming can be really hard. And you know, we have this thing in our club that we do, and that always puts me back into the beginner shoes. They have, I don't know, Chase, you probably did this, but they have us swimming with a tube around our feet.
Oh yeah.
Bill, did you swim too?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So they have this swimming with a tube around our feet, and I do this regularly in the club. And every single time I'm like, holy crap, this is how people who don't know how to swim feel all the time. This is the worst. So anyways, like this workout here, this swimming workout was just more for me. Like I'm comfortable with coaching swimming now. I think swimming, if you can do it right, it's probably one of the best active recoveries you can do because it's low impact. It's aerobic and all that stuff, but you can't get better at swimming unless you swim, and you have to swim. But if anyone here is listening and they're athletes or they want to improve their swimming, the best thing you can do to improve your swimming is to get coaching. It's not like another sport. It's not like weightlifting. It's not like running. It's not like anything else. Swimming needs to be taught, and you have to learn techniques to swim properly. So that's something that I used to do all the time when I was an athlete. Seek out specialty coaching, but swimming has to be something that you learn from coaches, and putting that workout there, or not workout, but that active recovery was my way of kind of saying we need to include it, but we need to do it well.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, swimming is the highest skilled monostructural activity you could do. Like, and it's not even close.
It's
like everybody just wants to get better. So they're like, okay, Chris Henshaw, give me a workout. It's like, no, man. You got to learn how to do that stuff first before you can start putting any pacing. And it's whatever the technique is, whatever the high skill movement or activity is, whether it's snatching, whether it's ring muscle ups, whether it's swimming, you can't just jump into it and think you're going to get it.
Yeah.
Because I can write work. I've done this with some of my athletes too, is I can put a workout out, and this workout here, I mean, you may have, if you're having someone do a 50 meter 15 times, that depending on the athlete, that could crush them, you know, and they're going to need a lot more than, 45 seconds rest in between because they did a whole shit ton of working out during that down and back.
Yeah.
So it's, the more efficient you are, the less of a workout you're getting, the easier it ends up being, especially for this one. I look at this and I'm like, oh, that's a really nice one. Yeah. Someone else would look at that and be like, holy shit, 15
especially
of those.
An outdoor pool.
Yeah.
So
I know.
cool.
It's like, oh, that's a nice day in the sun.
Yeah, I think that, I struggled with this one too, because to me, 50 meters in 90 seconds, it's like, what else am I going to do? But,
check my email, do my taxes.
Yeah, I know very well that was a challenge. But the notes, hopefully people read them and, stay within your comfort zone. And like sometimes I program workouts for, I have Taya, who's one of my athletes, who's a teen, and I program swimming workouts that I consider to be reasonable volume, but she responds to me, it's like, this was too much and I scaled it this way. And so she read the notes, but yes, I was hesitant, but I was actually considering doing just a rest day, but I feel like, one, I always give my athletes the choice. Most of the time they have the choice. Like by the end of my career, I was taking 2 full rest days a week, and Pat when he gets into busy seasons or whatever, he gets 2 full days, rest days a week. And I think that there's not much I can do as an online programmer to convince people to take that extra recovery time. But if there's anything, I can guide them into what it should look like. So yeah, I think people have to learn on their own on those things. Like I don't have control over that.
Yeah.
So I learned on my own. Like when I started doing CrossFit, my first year, I was a walking tendonitis, and then I was like, oh, okay, I can't do it all the time, every day. It's super hard. I have to, and that's, to be honest, it's probably one of the most profound ways to learn something.
Yeah. We all learn the hard way in a sense.
Yeah.
I did like that distinction, especially with swimming. It's so valuable. I'm supposed to do a call with Morning Chalk Up about the value of swimming in CrossFit program, which I can't wait to talk about because I have a lot of thoughts on that.
Yeah. I mean, it's insane. Like that sport, like I said, I'm just in a triathlon club now, and I'm relearning my swimming techniques, like completely. So
it's so different from water polo too.
Oh yeah. And like water polo, they don't care about your technique.
Yeah.
They just want you to go, but like when I learned to swim, we learned the S pole, and now I'm learning like a straight elbow bend, kind of thing. It took me a while, but I've taken off. Like, I think my threshold speed when I started doing that club was like 136 or something like that. Now I'm down to 126.
Wow.
Yeah. So for most of you guys, we don't know what it means, but it's a huge improvement for an adult swimmer,
It's awesome.
So Friday, this is where the nasty one you were talking about.
My favorite.
Every 6 minutes for 3 sets, 21, 15, 9 Echo Bike cals and goblet squats with a 32 or 24 kg kettlebell. So 70 or 53 for those that work in pounds. And for those that don't understand the format, will you walk them through that?
Yeah. So at the start of go, so at 0, you'll do 21, 15, 9 of the bike calories in the kettlebell goblet squats. So there's the full workout, the full 21, 15, 9 in the 6-minute window. And at the 6 minute, you do it a second time. And then at the, help me out here, 12 minutes. It's been a long day. 12 minute, you do it again for a third time. So essentially the total volume of reps, we're looking at 45 total reps of both movements 3 times.
Yeah.
Which is great because if I did this once, I wouldn't want to do a second one, let alone a third, let alone again in the same calendar year. Of course, in this format, you're not going to send it as if it was just 21, 15, 9 once. But okay, when you're looking at this, is that what real like intensity goal do you give the athletes on how to approach the first set so that it's sustainable for the next 2?
Yeah. So if we were to go on RPE, the first set is an 8.
Okay.
And the second set is an 8 to 9. And then the last set is a full 10. And that naturally increases. You'll probably hit the same numbers in the power output, but the RPE increases. So we should be going at, if you prefer description wise, it's like a hard, controllable pace. So this workout is a very good example of what I'll give my athletes who are competitive at training, like threshold training. Like this is, we'll take away the L1 idea of threshold training, which is like training under our technical, degradation, This is really working at a threshold pace. It's like doing 400-meter repeats at a very specific pace, which is not hard, not extremely hard at the beginning, but you finish with the same pace, but the effort perceived is super high. So you can, like, these workouts are very potent, and there's not a lot of these workouts in our training. Like I'll give this workout once a week to Pat, something like this. And then when we're in a big intensification phase, he'll do 2 of these in a week, and it won't exactly be the same, but the pace, it's kind of like a corrective tool. Like if you do this type of training enough, you know what your intensity looks like. So it's a great competition skill to have.
Yeah.
So I'm not surprised that people did this workout for the first time and couldn't do the second round and third. I think there's a natural element of kind of, you know, not understanding what this is like, but there's also a confidence booster in here because, you know, I aim for 4 to 5 minutes of work. It was actually probably closer to 5 minutes of work. And there's a sense of trusting that you're pulling it back just enough to hit that 5 to 10 minutes of work. And knowing that despite the sacrifice of those 10, 15 extra seconds that you can do, you'll be able to repeat it. And so when I coach athletes in competitions, when we see workouts that seemingly look like they're really high intensity, I'll always kind of refer to training like this and say, like, you have to attack it like this. You know, this is the kind of reserve you want at the beginning. And they have confidence in that reserve because they've done it in training.
Yeah.
And so that's what this training is about. It's like super valuable training system.
Yeah. And I love the fact that you're giving them that feedback system to where they have to be able to feel, well, one, you got to train it. And a lot of training doesn't have that in it. One, because it hurts. So it's really painful to do. 2, I also like that you said that you really only put something that's this potent once or twice a week. You know, we always, one of the criticisms of CrossFit is that we just care about you going as hard and as fast as you possibly can and high intensity and whatever. And it's like, no, this is the intensity one. The other ones are hard, but that doesn't mean that the intensity is high. You know, it's just hard.
Yeah.
Or it's just, you know, muscle fatigue sort of endurance type of setup. But this is specific to, I just want to see how much gas and how much fire you can put on yourself and understand how bad it's supposed to hurt so that you can continue that a couple more times. You know, I think it is that's a massive training tool, massive.
Yeah. And we do it differently. Like that's one example. When I wrote this workout, I actually called Pat and I asked him what his favorite type of workout was. And then he said he really likes the repeatable ones like this because it has very, very specific goals. And it's like when you're doing them, your competitive nature takes over. Like I did this workout. I did it on a bike erg because I couldn't get the Echo bike out. Plus I suck at Echo bike and I don't need to do that anymore. So I did it on the bike erg, but there's a sense of like, I can't not do this, you know, and sometimes you achieve it, sometimes you get it. And a lot of times you don't, but workouts like that, I think hit Pat where he's really good, where it's like, no, I'm going to do this. Like it's no matter what, no matter how painful it is, I'm going to do this. So he said to me that he really liked those type of workouts. So I'm like, great, I'll take that format because I really didn't think he liked those type of workouts, but I think he just likes things that are very specific in their goals and stuff like that. So, and then we do a lot of those with 2159s. So I figured I wanted something that was simple, but not body weight, because I think body weight was already taken care of that week and this and that. So the goblet squat, something that you can always do one more rep, you know, like there's no
very underrated, It's a very underrated movement too. It just, you like, you can, you just don't want to. It's like a burpee.
Yeah. I think burpee is probably my favorite. But yeah, the goblet squat is, so I really like that workout. I think it's super beneficial. And, you know, knowing that this workout was going on the .com and that other people than Patrick Vellner were going to do this workout, like scaling becomes super important. And I think I wrote in the notes that the beginner athletes should be actually done before advanced athletes in this type of workout, because their recovery rate is not the same. And they don't have the same experience to know what high intensity is, what moderate intensity is, and all that stuff. So we need to like they need to aim for more like 4 minutes of work rather than the 5 minutes, you know.
It would have been really cool if you would have had either a video of Pat or a time of Pat, like, and put it in the comments, like old school days.
He did it.
Pat
I
did
can pull
well,
it up.
but have him on there, like, as a comment. You know what I mean? That's what I used to do. Be like, oh, would Rob Orlando get in that? Oh, would Chris Beeler get on that?
Yeah.
And just to have
No,
him, that would be like very old school. Or like even when HQ would video the athlete doing the work. I'm sure you've done some of those. Have
no,
you? Really?
no.
They never had you do that?
I'm in Canada. I'm like across the border.
Yeah, that's a long ways away. You're right.
Yeah. But no, I wanted to have Pat film himself, but he's really far out, and it was getting a little too complicated. But he did give me his time, and I can look it up in his things, and I can put
That'd
it
be
in
cool.
the comments. But it was something stupid, like friggin' 4 something, you know,
Jeez.
like
To make us all feel good about ourselves.
Oh
Obviously.
yeah. Like, who wants to know? And for the record, I think I posted my times in the comments. I think I did like 5:12, and then like I was a little bit faster after because I was like, oh, I need to kick myself in the butt a little bit. But let me tell you, I couldn't walk for a good week after that.
Yes. Well, what I like that you transition from that like intense interval piece to a strength piece, essentially, is that you had here. And it is the two-parter that I like is that you had this running clock, 0 to 10 minutes, 1 snatch high pull into 1 hang power snatch. And then in the next 10 minutes, it was 1 power snatch, 2 hang squat snatches. Thank you for specifying squat, by the way. I know people don't normally do it, but some people need to know.
Yeah.
And what I really liked about this is that you infuse technique work that also can dub, especially when you look at snatch, is that there's 2 ways to lift more weight: get stronger or get better technique. And when you do both is when you see those magnificent jumps, those miracle days.
Yeah.
And you basically have essentially both parts in here. And then even the percentage maxes, I think was so key is that, okay, well, what do I work up into? It's like 30 to 50% you said in part 1. And then really just get as heavy as you can in part 2. As 1 is not only just a warm up, setup, technique drill to improve part 2. So I really did like the combo that you had here.
Well, good. I mean, I think like I'm in love with technique. I think that's probably why I was so like successful as an athlete, because technique was something that I felt was super important. Like I said, when I was competing, I sought out specialty coaching in almost everything that I wanted to improve, which is, it started off with plyometrics. I couldn't for the life of me do plyometrics. And so I got some help from a coach for that. And I got some help from a coach for weightlifting because I'm a smaller athlete. And if I'm going, like I was strong for my size, so I needed to be technically sound so that I can stay safe and things like that. Plus I loved it. And that's what drew me. Remember when I said at the beginning, I said, I love doing CrossFit because it brings me back to doing sports. And when I did sports, some of the things that I loved doing the most was the drills, having very specific goals and practicing those drills. I could be in the pool for hours practicing getting a pass on the right side and shooting it to the net. And so this to me is like crucial for anybody that does CrossFit. Not everyone likes this. I know, at my gym, there are tons of people that don't like it when they learn new things, and that's totally fine. But being this Michele Letendre guest programmer thing, I wanted something that reflected that. So, and on top of that, what's hard with this is that I can write this and, everyone reads this and they say, yes, working on technique. Like I have to do the high pull. I have to do this and that. And probably most of them are not doing it well. And so there's this part of me that's like, like, are they going to do it like I want them to do it? Like this is the control freak of being a coach for so long. And when you put me in front of a group of athletes to teach the snatch high pull and the snatch hang power snatch, that's where I'm at my best, But I think that if you're going to do it, I think this is a great way to do it because everyone wants to go heavy. And so I can't take away that desire, but I can control it in a way that, well, before you do that, have something to focus on because it'll probably apply very specifically to going heavy. And in this case, this is a complex that I like to use on bar elevation. So snatch high pull, the goal of the snatch high pull is to get the leg drive and the continuous leg drive through the ground, and then transferring that to the bar and then the high pull into the bar. So it's all about getting the bar high, not to the point of, excessiveness, but it's about getting the bar high. And the hang power snatch, the goal is to hit that triple extension, but right away forget that bar path going up and pulling yourself into it. So there's this combination that I use a lot in my programming. And then the part 2 of it, the reason why I wanted to do the power snatch and not like just a snatch is just to limit the load a little bit.
Okay.
So that they can continue to have the technical application that I wanted them to have. And then having the 2 hang squat snatches. Hang is probably one of the worst positions that I see CrossFitters like in almost every gym I walk into. When I see
like the knees forward, elbow bend, hang setup position. No.
You mean the pocket?
Yeah.
So yeah, like I think that the hang is, first of all, when you do Olympic weightlifting. So when I retired CrossFit, I went into weightlifting as a sport. I competed in weightlifting for 2 years. The hang snatch is actually easier than snatching from the ground for most athletes. Maybe not the hang, but like from the blocks, let's say, it's easier. The bar is already in the right position. But for CrossFit athletes who rely heavily on their backs and their hinge and their posterior chain hamstrings and not enough on their legs, it's like all of a sudden the movement just completely changes. So I want to force people.
It's not a kettlebell swing.
No, it's not. Like there's a happy medium between the kettlebell swing movement and whatever. But one of the key references that I use for doing a snatch from a hang position or the snatch high pull is the push press, and having that, my camera just went funny. Having that leg drive like you would in a push press that is like in the hang. The only difference is that you'll start like a push press, you'll bend your knees and stay vertical like a push press, and then you'll lean forward into the knees, and then you're probably well balanced and stuff like that. So like I obviously this written black on white like this doesn't have the same impact as a coach telling you to do this. But if anyone out there doing the .com is just a little bit like me, where they're reading all of this and it piques their curiosity, and they go online and they look at videos of hang snatches, and they look at videos of, high pulls and things like that, and they really try to analyze what people are doing and do it, I think that's like the next best thing.
Yeah. Well, and I like what you said about, okay, we went power snatch into hang squat snatches to somewhat limit the load these athletes can lift. And that forces the emphasis on technique with the loading that you use versus, I'm just going to grip and rip from the floor and just try to hit as heavy as I can because it's a heavy day. There's a barbell, and that's what we're doing. And the way you constructed this in somewhat of a complex format does limit how heavy they can go. So, okay, what's the next best thing to get out of this? If I'm not lifting weights to get stronger, it's like lifting better to lift heavier weights.
Yeah. I did this workout and I took the second piece as just continuing technical work. So I didn't add too much weight to it. And then I had a few people talk to me that they did this workout and they ended up choosing to continue to work on their technique just with a different complex. And I like to hear that. I mean, like we lift heavy a lot, but having, like I said, there's always a why, like having that why and having that careful, thoughtfully thought out movement is crucial. And it's unique to CrossFit. And so, it's not the great workout, like in the sense that you're going to go into the gym and you're going to do just that. Like you can do extra stuff after. No one's telling you not to do anything extra. But I wanted to put that in there because that kind of session is really important to me.
Mm-hmm. That was a Saturday. Sunday, you had a full rest day.
Yes.
And we come back to week 2 starting on Monday, and you have run, ski, run 1 mile, ski 500 meters, run 1 mile. I get, what is that freaking, I love this workout. Jerry? I get Jerry vibes.
Oh, yeah. Okay. That's
Jerry?
A row.
Was it Jerry? Yeah, I said it's a 2K row, I believe.
Yeah, I've done that workout before.
And so when I look at this right off the bat is that I see, mile run, all right, 6 to 8 minutes. And then I see another mile run. And then I see 500 meters. I'm like, okay, well that very short, And so what was the intent of putting ski here and making it 500 meters?
It's, you know, the reason I put this workout in is because I think Run, Swim, Run in 2017 is probably my favorite workout of the
Okay.
games that year. And it's funny because when I did CrossFit competition, like I sucked at endurance events. But now that I do endurance sports, I really, really like this. And I think that people need to do more of this. You know, Bill earlier you and I were talking about people should be doing this and this and that. I kind of think that people should be doing stuff like this a little bit more because it's kind of like you don't always have to go all out to have a good stimulus. Personally, I would have loved to put in a swim here, but it's not possible. But the reason why the ski is so short is that it just forces people to slow down their first run and to be thoughtful about how they do their ski and know that, like, you know, it's really a running workout and there's like a rest, but muscularly speaking, that ski, it hits you in the core, it hits you in the hips.
Yeah.
The change of movement pattern will probably get you a spike of heart rate. So how good are you at managing your running efforts for that? That was kind of the goal. To me, this is more like a test in that way. But as a training piece, it's really about learning your paces in the run because it's so important. Again, my mindset goes to competition. Like when you look at this workout, it's a running workout and there's an interference in there that's a ski movement. So is 150 per 500 on the ski worth the extra effort? Like if your easy pace is 155, but you're like, I'm going to go 147. Is that 12 seconds going to be worth what you're going to do for 6 to 8 minutes? So again, it forces people to kind of rationalize what they're doing.
Yeah.
You have to understand what those paces mean. It doesn't take much for your threshold or for your zones to change. Like we don't know the ski as much as other machines, but if you know that your 2 minute per 500 pace is a very comfortable pace and your heart rate is consistently low there, but 150 gets you in a zone 4, then that 150 is not worth it. It's 10 seconds in a workout that represents about 20 minutes. So you need to choose where you'll put your effort.
Yeah.
It also, to me, running is something that I wish I would have learned when I was an athlete, is how running doesn't have to suck. If you know how to run at a specific pace and you know yourself. And every single time I had a run when I was competing, it like the mental beatdown I would take because I had to run at a specific speed. And the only workout I think I did that really well was the 333.
Yeah.
Where I was like, you know, run your race, do your thing. And I finished that race exactly at the right level of fatigue. I never stopped, like everything was good. But aside from that, running was always such a big weakness. So I think learning to run is really important, but people think that they need to learn to run fast in order to learn to run. But what I've learned is that you need to run slow in order to learn how to run. You need to experience both areas of the spectrum. But in CrossFit in the past, it's always been speed intervals. And I think in the notes, I actually wrote, like, you guys know how fast you can run because 2 weeks ago you did, you know, I think it was 10 times 400 or something like that.
Okay.
And so you know what that speed looks like for high intensity intervals. Now you cannot rely on those numbers to run your 1 mile. It doesn't compute. Like it doesn't work. So normally if you look at this workout, even running at your best 5K pace doesn't compute because there is that element in the middle that could potentially really interfere your heart rate. So you need to know those areas on the spectrum so that you can properly adjust. So I'm trying to educate people by experience, but so yeah, that's kind of the idea behind this. There's no other stimulus other than more aerobic work. And there's also that element of, you know, rationalizing and understanding the workout and your efforts. All
right. Now we go from this one to the most infamous .com workout ever. I've never seen a .com workout get more attention.
It's ridiculous. It's just a workout.
Let's pull it up. Okay, so 4 time,
Yeah.
12 wall walks, 10 wall ball shots, 9, 10 wall ball shots, 6, 10, 3, 10, 14-pound ball to a 10-foot target. And when I saw that, I was like, thank God, finally we gave the women an appropriate height wall ball target.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to be honest,
Everyone.
and I'll be honest, this is just my thing, all right? So I have to be authentic and stick to my guns. Then I saw 20 to 12, and I was like, why? I was like, I get 9, 10, and then at the games they did 10 to 11, which I was, and I think they did that in quarterfinals once. Why are we making the guys go to 12 feet? I just want to start there and just rip the Band-Aid off.
Yeah. So I honestly, this workout, it's just hilarious. So first of all, one of the things that I used to do a lot when I was doing Olympic weightlifting was to use wall balls as a conditioning component for my weightlifting training.
Okay.
So I did a lot of workouts. You can call them workouts. I call them conditioning pieces, where it was like, for example, I'll hold isometric position in a deep squat for X amount of time, and then I'll do 6 really high wall balls or 6 very heavy wall balls. And I went as heavy as I think I went as heavy as 35 pounds and 40 pounds, stuff like that. So there's an element of power involved. This workout was written by Michele, but I actually changed it to this. So
Okay.
I'll take all the heat for all of the stupid comments that I saw. I'll take them because I changed it to this. And it was inspired by those power conditioning pieces where you're doing some isometrics into a very dynamic opposing movement.
Okay.
Okay. That's the premise. I think what's throwing people off in this workout is the for time bit. If I were to write this workout and say rest 3 minutes after each one, it just changed the idea of this is a power conditioning.
Yeah, I could see that. I see
100%.
that for
You know what I mean?
sure. Yeah.
So, and then why the 12 feet? Because we can. And if you can't, it's written in the notes. If you can't throw higher, just throw heavier. It's really that simple. It's really not a big deal. People need to stop being so insulted by these targets, because reality is, if I would have written out, throw as high as you can, okay, I'm going to throw to the 10-foot target because there's a target there. So I think
I actually like that a lot.
I like that a lot more.
If you put the rest in there and say high as you can, because then it hits exactly what you're talking about, like that power, explosiveness, output training.
Yeah.
I do like that.
Yeah. But we wrote it for time, and we wrote it like this. And I know that I heard some things that I heard it was the worst ever CrossFit workout. And I was like, okay,
I could dig through and find anything that I'll put in the things that I think are the worst. Is anything that was body weighted for barbell work, I think is a terrible workout.
Do you remember virtual shoveling?
Virtual shoveling.
I've messed with that. I messed with that back in the day.
Yeah, I remember that. Honestly,
this is the first time I hurt my back in CrossFit was doing that in a group class at a CrossFit gym. I was like, thank God nobody's walking in now.
It was a test.
Yeah.
It was a test.
Honestly, we do shoveling here, and there's no way virtual shoveling can anywhere come close to what shoveling.
Right.
But anyways, yeah, I think that basically we need to see the wall walk as an isometric, slow, a lot of time under tension. It's a little bit more dynamic than a handstand hold or a squat hold. And to me, it's just it's a great movement. It's a great core movement. I've been programming wall walks forever. Yep. When I saw the wall walk come up in the games and in the open, I was like, oh shit. I actually loved these regularly. Yeah. So, yes, there is a lot of wall walks in here, and yes, you're against the wall a whole lot of time. And then you go into a movement that's just, to me, it was about the dynamic component of going from a very isometric, very shoulder, very core heavy movement into something that is basics, but that is just an added element of difficulty. And Michele tried this workout, and the feedback she gave me from the workout, I was like, yeah, this is the workout I want to put in. I like that feedback. I like the idea. She was like, she said to me that the wall walks weren't, you can control your effort on the wall walks, but those wall balls were quite surprising. And I think that's really important. We saw it at the games this year when guys when the guys and the girls did that workout that was like a pyramid chipper, they had the pig flip, and then they had like toe bar, and then they did 100 wall balls, and then they had pull-ups and all that stuff. And Pat was like, the wall balls are going to be unbroken for sure. And then to his surprise, he had to break those up in like sets of 5s and 10s. And most of the guys did. So we need to feel that sometimes. We need to feel that surprise element of like, oh shit, like that feels really different. So I stand by this workout. People can say it's shit. I think it's fine. I think it had a goal that was very specific that in this format was probably less visible. But
Yeah. Well, your explanation just answered all that, which is great. And I love the fact that, because that's what it was. It was like, okay, you finally get the girls to 10. Why the hell are the guys at the 12? Like they were just looking for that sort of the classic mix, like the 70% of whatever in the standard 24-20 on the box. I honestly would have loved to see throw the ball as high as you can get it.
Yeah.
The
problem with that, Bill, is that people get complacent, and if there's no target, then you miss the mark. And the whole reason behind the wall ball is that there is a target to hit, and so there's an element of minimum work that you're gonna get.
I don't disagree with that. There was back in the day, John Hackelman from the Pit, Chuck Liddell's coach, and for all the UFC stuff, he's been involved with CrossFit forever and ever and ever too. And he always wanted to do workouts at my gym and talk about hitting the bag so many times. I'm like, yeah, but the reason we don't do that is because you don't know how hard you're hitting it. So if you do an activity, like I can, and take the 4-time thing off, because now it's like the second I'm trying to go faster, well, I'm not going to throw it higher because that's going to slow me down. So I can see how there would be that issue.
Like ball slams.
You're right. It's like it's threading a needle. But if you can put in like, okay, the goal is like, I don't give a shit how fast you're going. I want you to throw it as hard as you can. Or what if you took that movement out and just made it more of a I don't know, like a thruster, or like I know we already had front squats and stuff, but
yeah, you see,
I don't know.
Wall balls had to be there.
I get it.
I love the wall ball. I love the dynamic component of it. Like, so I think that the wall ball adds the 12. The reason why I put 10 to 12 inch is just to have a very black and white target to hit. But I think throwing it as high as possible. That's what I used to do. Some gyms have targets, and I know that some gyms can't do the 12 feet. Like it's, whatever. It's the idea behind it is that. But if we leave things up to interpretation, sometimes it's just, hey, she didn't, say. I think.
How about 12? How about 12 and 11?
Yeah, I mean, sure.
Okay, thanks. That's all.
Could be 15 feet if you want.
I can give you. As long as they're both good at the same height. That's my only problem.
I should have written people who are below 5'4", throw it.
I get it, right? But it's like you got guys that, and if that's what you want, if you just want to say a standard across the board, I will not argue with that. It's like, hey, 5'4" and under, men or women, you go to 10, 6'2" and above, you go to, or whatever, right? That's just my
because there's
thing.
no
I'm not even attacking your workout. I do this every time I see different heights. I was like, you have a lighter ball for a reason.
Totally.
Throw it freaking up there. It's like you're making my only saving grace of being 6'2". It's like, now I get it worse.
Hold on. I have so much to say to that.
Please.
Our movement at higher, because we're shorter, is longer. So keep that in mind. We will probably get 25 for every 27 of your wall balls.
I know. It's my only perk.
Yeah.
But then you got to go to air squat. Then you go to air squat. Same thing. Flip it.
Yeah.
You'll get 25 to every one of your 27.
Yeah. That's a great argument. And I'm always open to feedback. If
I'm just telling you right now, this has nothing to do with you. I do this every time I see this. So
every time.
Being consistent.
Every time.
I'm just being consistent. So yeah, look, listen, I put this in a category of, I was like, regardless of your thoughts about this, I think this last 5 minutes of discussion around what it could have been, where it came from, or things that you would have liked to see is a very important part of programming itself. and it happens on .com all the time. We
Yeah.
can pick a workout every 3 weeks and be like, this almost hit the mark, and it frustrates someone that it didn't. But this is why I really wanted to do the podcast and talk through these things. Is like, I get it, right? Yeah, maybe the for time element here does totally disrupt really the intent of what you really liked it to be. And we mix and match how those things go. And you could still like the way it goes. And like that's the whole point. We talked about art at the very beginning of the show, is like how programming involves in that. And I really just like the discussion around that of, yeah, we just talked about like 5 or 6 different ways that would also be an effective one-day workout.
Mm-hmm.
So I appreciate your discussion around
I
that.
like it. It was needed. It was needed because this one got so much discussion. We had to have it, and we had to have that explanation. I think that that's huge because it's showing the intent of what you were trying to get.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, regardless of what the things are. I mean, again, are there going to be OCDnesses to us? Absolutely. And whether we like or not like it, there's always going to be a subjective eye that we're going to be looking through it. But I love what you said, like what your intent was with that makes me like the workout, makes me want to do it the way you were intended to do it, taking off the 4 time and shit, even putting a rest in there just to get that. Cause it's like putting in like broad jumps, which you end up having in one of the other ones. I like that.
Yeah.
It's a distraction. It takes out, it changes your race element. But again, these are workouts and training sessions. It's not a competition.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes I think we forget about that when we're training versus competing. So
And to be honest, like I was an athlete for a long time, and like you guys have been athletes. Like you do the work. Like you don't have to, you just do the work, you do it.
Yeah.
You know?
Hey, I feel bad. I have to cut out because I got to go coach my class. You guys keep talking because it's good talk. Michelle,
Okay.
it's really good to see you again.
Same to you, Bill. Take care.
Okay. Bye,
All right,
guys.
buddy. Good to see you, buddy.
See you, man.
I love what you touched on is like the for height thing. And then like the next day, it just rolls right into exactly that. Right. And so you have this Wednesday workout for load deadlift. It's funny, actually. I mentioned this is like looking at .com for the first time. It's like, 5x3. Okay. So we have 6x3 deadlift.
Yeah.
For each set, 5 broad jumps for max distance. So you do get that max thing that you were talking about that you didn't put in the one before.
Yeah.
And then is it 10 or 8 echo bike calories as fast as possible?
Yeah.
3-minute rest in between sets.
Yeah.
And what I just based off what you were talking about in the previous one is like, I see, okay, we've got this hinge pull from the floor as we'll steadily increase with weight, but this power explosive element with the broad jump where it's not necessarily for time there, it's for max effort. And then you throw in the for time max effort with the bike cals.
Yeah. So this is a piece that really, like, we do this a lot. This is a contrast piece where you go from really heavy to really high velocity. This is something that Kevin, my lead programmer, does a lot, and he really likes to do this. And this is kind of a staple of how we train strength endurance, right? Because CrossFit, always in mind that we're more in line in not in our affiliate programming, but when we do our programming for like our blog and stuff, we have the athlete in mind, knowing that CrossFit's not necessarily a strength sport, but really a strength and power endurance sport. So how do we do that in a way that's like isolated without Metcon? So this is an example of that. So I personally hate broad jumps. He really likes them. I don't like them. But you can't always put in things that you like. I personally prefer vertical jumps, but there's a sense of excuse me, there's a sense of movement that's really fun with this type of workout. Like the goal is very, and to be fair, originally this was programmed as a front squat.
Okay.
But the 2 weeks prior to us had a 5x3 front squat, I think, or a back squat. Sorry, it was originally scheduled to be a back squat, but it was previously written as a back squat. So I didn't want to do the same thing. Okay. But we had done a lot of squatting, so pulling off the ground was something. And normally I don't program deadlifts. Like deadlifts is something that I very rarely program.
If I could high five you right now, I would do it because
Yes.
So there are things that I don't like to do. One, that I'm not good at. Two,
Yeah.
that I get horrifically damaged if I go too heavy.
Yeah, and to be honest, in my 7 years of coaching, currently Pat is doing his first ever deadlift cycle, and it's not a true deadlift cycle.
Dude
It's more
still
like
has like a 600-pound deadlift.
yeah.
What
He's
is that? Why specifically do you not program deadlifts?
well for him. I don't program them because he's so strong in the
Right.
deadlift. I think it's too much stress on the CNS. It's too much risk on his spine, and there's other ways of including the posterior chain strength that's more relevant to our sport. Like I think we've gone through enough years to realize that a 1 rep max deadlift happens at Rogue, and I don't know how everyone felt, but watching like 40 people do 1 rep max deadlifts, like it's not the most spectacular event in the world. So
Yeah.
you know, like where deadlifting becomes really important is more like endurance, because we do have heavier, moderate deadlifts for reps. And so that's how we will most likely program deadlifts and stuff like that.
Okay.
That said, this time around, I've been programming a deadlift cycle to kind of work on that. But instead of going for load, I work at a specific percentage and I increase his time under tension with a specific amount of volume. So we're doing that right now. But if this was rewritten, I would rewrite it with a very specific percentage.
Okay.
So to me, this workout should be performed at 75 to 85%, no more than that.
Okay.
But I know that some people really like to go heavy. And so I think that I have to also trust that a lot of people will know when to stop, because otherwise I wouldn't program anything. But so if I were to rewrite this, I would definitely put in a very specific percentage, but traditionally CrossFit.com hasn't really done that. So I didn't want to take too much away from that.
Okay.
But then the whole bike thing, I think the number of calories there is short enough that people can really go all out. And it's not about managing your effort. With a 3-minute rest, you'll be fully recovered. It's really, really all about just going at something with as much velocity as you can.
Yeah. It's okay. It's the full transparency behind the scenes, like the weightlifting part, the gymnastics part, and the monostructural part. When I taught it, was like I was tinkering with programming for .com. I have something almost akin to this that has 10 bike cals or 5 sets mixed in with some strength like progressions.
There you go.
All out. So I am 100% on board with this. And I do like the mix and match here. The thing I like about the broad jumps, as you talked about, I'd rather have a vertical jump, is that you're coming off those wall ball shots that really accomplish that, like you said, vertical power output to get that ball to that height target. And now you're just changing the direction of where that explosiveness goes. And I like the pairing that you do have back to back there.
Yeah. And I think to defend a little bit further the previous workout, that the worst workout that was ever programmed for CrossFit.com.
I think you call it the what workout? The worst workout of all time?
I'll give it to my affiliates in a couple of weeks and see if I get that same feedback. But if I would have done 2 interval style workouts kind of back to back, I think like the formatting was kind of influenced by what was around the workout. But yeah, I think this type of piece is something that a lot of people could get behind, because it's a nice, like everyone likes to do a max effort where they still feel really powerful. No one wants to do a 1 minute max effort, but like doing a 20-30 second max effort is very doable. And it's done in a way that doesn't deter from the technique of the deadlift. So it's done after the deadlift.
Yeah.
That said, hopefully people were reasonable with the load that they had in the last couple of rounds, and no broken backs,
And yes. And it was the explosive training. I think people don't give enough credit to transferability to that, especially in the Olympic lifts.
You should see. So, the interval workout that Pat did?
Which one?
At the games?
Yes.
Interval workout.
Yes.
This
sucked so bad. He made that look way too easy.
But that's because he does things like this.
Yeah.
He does things like this. And then when I saw that workout at the games, I'm like, this looks like training. This looks like training that we do. It's
Yeah.
a mix of power and it's like a mix of what that deadlift workout is and the threshold one of the 2159. It's like basically that. And we do that regularly. So,
Yeah.
I'm not like secrets here. Like, hey, if you want to improve your CrossFit at competitions, do those types of training. It's worked really well.
Yeah. Yeah, that event was interesting because on paper I'm like, okay, and you watch it go down, you're like, yep. To me, it looked like everybody's working out, different than competing. And then I tried it, and I was like, whoa,
Yeah.
they made that classic, right? I mean, you watch a swimmer in the Olympics, you're like, oh, they're making this look so easy, or any professional in any profession, right? And then you do it, like, oh, damn, I'm not as fit or as cool as I thought I was, which is pretty standard for the last 15 years, to be honest. But coming off that, you had a rest day. You also had the option of a 60-minute hike or walk. And I always liked doing those myself. You talked a lot about visualization, and I think those give you good opportunities to do that. And plus, just go and express your fitness in a low intensity style kind of way. But then that brings us to Friday. And I look at this, and this is to me, this is like straight out of .com.
Yeah,
3
it
hours
looks
of
like
time,
that,
500
right?
in a row, 15 ring dips, 5 bar muscle ups.
I got more comments about that shirt than my workout.
Burpee. I didn't see that.
I saw that. I'm like, I want that t-shirt. Where is it?
Yeah, I know. Where is that? Maybe it'll be on the CrossFit store sometime, or whoever made that shirt. That is fantastic. But this is the of all the ones that you've had so far, to me, this is the most classic one when we look at .com over the last 2 decades. You look at this, you're like, okay. And then you do it, you're like, damn.
Yeah. Push pull. I needed a row in there. I needed some gymnastics that were more dynamic. And this one was hard. The Friday, because we wanted to finish, I'm not going to spoil the surprise, but the Saturday workout, we knew which one we wanted to put in. But the Friday was the last one kind of scheduled. And I'm like, I don't know. I looked at all the movements. I'm like, we didn't do any pulling gymnastics so much. We didn't do any of that. So I put that in, and it's mirroring the goal of the Tuesday of the previous week. Not the Tuesday, sorry, the Wednesday of the previous week. So the handstand push-up workout. Yeah. But in a different. The goal is to have pulling endurance instead of pressing endurance. There is pressing involved, so the rep scheme kind of skews it in that way. I think if I were to rewrite this workout, I would reduce the number of ring dips, but I put it up high because I work with athletes that are really good at ring dips. And to me, like if I were to give this workout to Pat, he would do probably the 15 ring dips close to unbroken. He would probably do 10-5, the whole way through. So if I would have put 10 ring dips, I feel like I would have probably not gotten that, endurance component for some athletes out there. Right. And to me, 5 bar muscle ups is a rep scheme that most people who have that skill can do 5 reps. So the people who are on the cusp and who are really working on their endurance, they're going to manage their ring dips to get that 5 bar muscle ups. And then the people who are really good at the ring dips will storm through this workout, and just the compounding effect of the whole workout will happen in that 3rd round. So it was like, to me, I would consider this a catch-all workout. There's something in it for everybody, and it's very visual. It's very apparent, and it's super classic. And I do classic CrossFit. I do program classic CrossFit a lot. It's not all crazy stuff. Like, I really like the classic 3-round workouts that are in that time range that's kind of like tough and with compounding effects that only show up in the last round, kind of thing. This to me looks like a race.
Well, what I like here is the subtleties that some people may not pick up on, especially or won't find out until they're in it. Is you got some Helen vibes in here with the 3 rounds and the row and the ring dips and the bar muscle ups. But I like the ring dip bar muscle up combo in a sense that allows you to keep attacking the workout, because if you think of a bar muscle up, the hardest thing there is that pull. It's not the lockout, but with the ring dips beforehand, it fits that combo really well. And then you go to the row where there's a heavy pulling element in there, which will have an effect on the bar muscle ups. But when you look at 15-5, a lot of times when you see monostructural placed in workouts, you'll see like, okay, this is the time where I can kind of chill, right? Or rowing at this pace won't hurt me. So like the run, ski, run. Yeah, I could ski at a 150 or maybe a 2 minutes, and I can make that 10 seconds up somewhere. In this format, it puts a heavy emphasis on keeping an intensity on the row that most people don't want to, especially if they're proficient at the gymnastics portion.
Yeah, 100%. If this was at the games, man, guys would beat themselves silly on the row.
Yeah.
Like,
there's just no time to make up because all those guys and girls can do 15 and 5, no problem. So where does it come down to? And that's where I see the Helen vibes is like, oh, I guess I have to row harder than I really want to.
Yeah, definitely. So it's cool that we're at a point now in our CrossFit lives that we can say that about ring dips, because like I look at this workout of Michele, like even when I was competing in 15 ring dips, like I'm not unbroken on 15 ring dips for 3 rounds.
Maybe round 1, but round 2, I'm like, oh, 3s. Cool.
3's 5, 3's 5. Yeah. So I like it. It's simple. The goal is very clear. There's nothing too crazy about it. The rep scheme was something that I wanted to be as inclusive as possible. And, I could have put 10 bar muscle ups and Pat would have done it unbroken, but it would have changed completely how people row. So yeah, totally. Very simple.
Like I said, my OCD brain earlier is like, I like the 500, 15, 5, and then you put the 3 in there and you get your 15. Like it all works. Like, it's great. It just scratches that.
Next time I'm invited to this, I'm going to write workouts that are like 12 rounds of 4, 7, and 3.
Yeah, well, just do the like my least favorite games event of all time was the thruster bar muscle up one from 2015.
Thruster bar muscle up.
So it was a pyramid whatever. I can't remember.
I did that workout, but I don't remember.
You did, and it was 15, 10, 6. And I was like, you MFer. Like, because it was supposed to go off of, it was like pyramid couplet or something like that. And it was like, if you were stacking cups, there's 15 in this pyramid, there's 10, but there's only 6 when you do the smaller one. I was like, no, we're getting too cute here.
Oh, man.
I'm so.
I don't remember. I think some, like, when you're at the games, like there's not a lot of workouts that I remember.
Yeah, I'm sure it's just a massive blur of just like, when do I go?
Yeah, 2015, my hand was like raw.
2015 was the year everyone's hands.
Yeah, so I don't remember. I think Saturday and Sunday of that competition are like on. Like I don't remember.
2015 was the year I legitimately was standing back watching because I could not do. Was like, people are going to start second guessing how much they really want to be games athletes.
Oh, I did. I fully, when I walked out of the tennis stadium that day, I said to my boyfriend, we were walking, I'm like, I'm not coming back next year. Like I said, I'm not doing this again. And then and actually made my decision. I'm saying I am retiring, but 2016 will be my last year.
There you go.
So it was like, I'm too old for this. I'm too old.
Yeah, that was an absolute brutal year. It's like, all right, we have come to the last one, and you called it chaos.
Yeah.
As many rounds in 7 minutes of 10 thrusters and 10 bar facing burpees at 95 and 65. And I immediately was like, this was the most asshole one you programmed. Like everyone might look at the bike goblet squat one. I look at this one. Like, and I say that with all endearing. Yes, right? That is a love, right? That is the tough love asshole comment. Cause I'm like, oh, Michele, you are so mean.
Yeah. It's hard. It's a really hard workout.
And just the combo of the thrusters and the bar facing burpees, there's no reprieve there for anything.
No. And it's in a really hard time domain.
And it's a time, like 10 minutes. I'm like, okay, I can navigate. I can push that intensity around, right? Like I can manipulate things to do well in 10 minutes. And then 5 minutes, I'm like, oh, it's 5 minutes. I'm done. 7. What is it about the 7-minute time frame? That's so
the first exposure to 7-minute time cap was the burpee workout. Remember in 2012, we had 7 minutes.
Oh yeah. 7 minutes of burpee.
And that was like, whoa. I remember doing that workout. And after 2 minutes, I was like, I remember saying, how much time? And my boyfriend said, you did 2 minutes. And I was like, holy crap.
Yeah, you mean 2 minutes left, right? Like,
This is a workout that we use at Deka Comp a lot. We came up with some benchmarks the same way I think a lot of people do, some gyms and stuff like that. And this to us, and to me especially, is a really great understanding of where my athletes are. I use 2 benchmark. This one is like a test version of it. And then I do another one that's like an every 4 minutes, and then reps go up. And then the goal is to find their most amount of rounds. And it's basically a way for me to kind of categorize athletes in reps per second to see what level of conditioning they're at with that type of couplet, because couplets are a big part of our sport in the online, the open, the quarterfinals, and some semifinal athletes competitions, not really. But if you can average out 2.5 seconds per rep on this workout, you are elite level at that conditioning type, couplet styles, stuff like that. So I've had a lot of athletes do this, and I've kind of calculated to about 2.5 seconds is really the best I've seen so far in this. And anywhere around 3.5 seconds per rep is really high level. And then classes are more going to be around the 5-6 seconds per rep and stuff like that. So it's a really great benchmark for that. It's a really great benchmark for any coaches that want to understand, like, in French, the word is sur place, like you do CrossFit on site. Like the thing about open competition is that you're always on that floor and you're in that little square. So that type of CrossFit looks really different than semifinals or games athletes or CrossFit Games. But when we think of classic CrossFit couplets and triplets, to me, this is like a really good benchmark for that. And so really it's first, the number one goal people should have is doing it unbroken. And so that's like when you're beginning to do this type of like higher level, not like introductory beginner, like beginner in a group class thing, but you're like introducing yourself to performance level CrossFit. This is the goal is unbroken. And then the second goal is to be like, okay, around every minute and a half. And then around every minute becomes really I think the biggest goal. And the thing with the 7 minutes is that the 10 minutes is very easy to rationalize. Like I'll do 1 round a minute.
All right.
But 1 round every minute for 7 minutes kind of feels different for some reason. But yeah, so we wanted to finish with this one. It's our favorite workout. It's like, I don't like the pull-up with the thrusters because I think that there's too much interference. There's a muscular component that takes away from the raw fitness of this, and the bar facing burpee adds body weight movement that is required in competition that we have a lot. So I think this combination is classic, and I love this workout, and it sucks. And I know I've done it many times, versions of it, all kinds of it, but yeah, it's a hard one.
I think anybody that's done their level 1 has feelings about this style.
Yeah, it's true. They do that in the level 1 now instead of the pull-ups.
That's right. And so with the pull-ups, and I know you said interference, but I look at it as like you see the pull-ups as almost a reprieve.
No, what I mean is there's an element of in the thruster, you're compressed here, and so the blood flow doesn't happen very well. So people, if they were doing this with thrusters and pull-ups for 7 minutes, I would start to see pull-ups starting to be broken up, or people starting to wait before getting on the pull-up bar.
Oh, I see.
Bar-facing burpee has no interference. You can always go down and always.
Worst part of a burpee.
Yeah.
You can always do another one.
Exactly. So that's why it's not a pull-up workout. It's really a burpee workout.
I was thinking more movement pattern interference.
Yeah, no, sorry. I'm thinking really like blood flow and like stamina based, because there's
this is why we have these conversations, Michele. Set me straight. So I like this. And what you said about the classic time frame is if you do think about the open, not say always, but a lot of the times it's 7 minutes.
Yeah.
7 minutes of ascending reps, right? Yeah. Or just workouts that are in that 5 to 7 minute time range. Like this is a time range that people need to get comfortable with at a very high intensity. And the last thing I'll wrap up here, specific to this shorter, intense workout, is that as a coach in just say the affiliate realm, I think it's some of the hardest workouts to coach a Gen Pop group to get right.
Yeah. I agree. But I do think that I don't think there's any I don't think to address that population you're talking about, I don't think it is possible to coach that. I think it's something that people that have athletic ability and background and competitiveness can do. But
Right.
the reality is that Gen Pop, like most people have never done sports. Most people have never trained like that. So it's virtually impossible to kind of get to that level of intensity and that level of speed of execution. It's just not possible for everyone to hit it. So in that sense, I think that like it's not a bad idea as a coach to expect like some workouts to be longer for them. You know what I mean? Like to expect people to do Fran the way it's written out, I don't think it's reasonable anymore. I think that like we can't get there. There's too many people that don't have that type of background and that kind of mindset.
Interesting.
So I'm not saying it's not relevant in CrossFit. Like I'm just saying that I don't think there's any level of coaches that can get people moving to that level of intensity unless they've done that in the past. And I'm in my head, I'm thinking like my Joanne that's 54, like she's not going to do Fran at this desired stimulus. It's impossible for her to do that. And I don't think she would appreciate that experience. So I do think that kind of, I had a conversation at with a exercise science specialist at a swimming clinic, and he was talking about how everyone should be doing intensity. And that is like, if you have only X amount of time, you should be doing that high intensity. And I just don't think it's practical. I don't think it's doable. I don't think it's achievable. Although it will get the results that we want, I don't think that the mental ability is there. And I don't I think it would be working very hard for very little gain. So I think the 7 minutes is long enough that deconditioned athletes will get a great stimulus, even if they don't move at the speed that we expect them to. And there's that element to it, but a 3-minute workout, I don't know.
Yeah. And I think that's where the relative intensity plays a huge role when you explain it to people. It's like, yes, are you ever going to get a 3-minute Fran with the appropriate intensity at that, maybe say like that age demographic, as you said, is like, no, because in order to get 3 minutes, we would do almost nothing.
Yeah.
Right. But that 5 to 7 minute intensity you got is like, that'll work. Just
fine. I think it's a relevant time. I think the 3-minute time is very 2009, whatever. That 7 minute is our new thing. But like you said, it's relative intensity. I think that doing the AMRAP 7 is great because you have your best athletes that can really hit the mark and your deconditioned athletes that have a really good workout for 7 minutes. But then if you give a 3-minute workout, I think we're at a point where the advanced athletes should be doing that 2, 3, 4 more times. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, all right. So 2 weeks wrapped, you got your
long.
Yeah, right. Yes. Well, listen, I love that. Like I texted you earlier. I was like, the nerd in me, not you, me. Right? We'll say that is that I just love hearing about that, hearing different perspectives, the way people see things, and it's all centered around kind of the same nucleus when it comes to the CrossFit methodology to begin with. And walking through all those things, it was great, and I really enjoyed it. And I appreciate your time.
My pleasure. I'm glad I got to defend myself.
Yeah, I could give you a platform. I was like, it was funny. I think I texted you after that. I'm not sure when I scheduled.
Yeah, you texted me 3-4 days ago.
Okay, so after, and I was like, man, I hope she wants to come on the show. And fuck yeah, I want to come on the show.
Yeah, of course.
For 4 hours if we want to.
I'm glad I got to go down as the person that wrote the worst CrossFit.com workout.
Listen, I would tell this to my members. Yeah, listen, you're the best now. Michele, look, thank you so much for your time. I'm glad you got to have your moment there on .com. What an honor and a privilege to be a part of that, and especially with how your I would say romantic beginning of CrossFit and how that interweaved with .com, I thought was very cool. So thank you for your time, and good luck with the you and your crew as far as at the affiliate, but then you and your comp crew with the new coming season. I feel
thank you. I'm really excited.
It's been a good off season, and right, and then looking forward to what the game season has to offer here.
Yeah, me too. Really excited. Yeah, for sure. Well, thank you, Chase. And obviously Bill is gone, but thank you very much for having me. I
Don't
really
worry about Bill. Don't worry about Bill. Well, Michele, congratulations. And obviously what an honor. And thank you for coming on the show. And we'll try to swindle you to come on here again and talk about
that would be great.
anything underneath the sun. So thank you guys for listening. Michele Letendre, congratulations. Thank you for your time. We'll see you guys next time.